Good morning, it's Yvonne here to do What's Cracking reading. Firstly, as I always do, I want to say thank you to you all for your love and support. Um, I never feel in any way, shape, or form not grateful for what I do. So you are always making me feel that there is a good reason for doing what I do. Okay, if you would like a personal reading with me, please don't get scammed. There are so many people out there pushing their way into people's lives and giving them horrible reviews. They've completely mucked up the reviews on my Facebook page because they've given poor readings. Please don't fall into that. Desperation of getting a cheap reading because you're not really going to be sure what you're getting. And from my understanding, they're not great. So if they were, they'd be doing what I'm doing and selling themselves through their good work, and they are not. So please be careful. I can't be responsible if you lose your money. I remember somebody getting quite cranky with me some months ago because they'd lost money. If you want a reading with me, email me. That clear. And only one email address, the Aussie Goddess at Gmail. There's nothing there, there's no numbers, straightforward email address. Alrighty, but don't get scammed, please. Check out what you're doing first. If you're unsure and somebody's offered you something, then email me and ask me. I will not do that. I don't solicit people for emails, so for money. If you want to come to me for reading, coaching, whatever, you do it of your own accord. Alrighty, what else can I talk about? Today's reading will be for Virgo, so be watching out for that if you've been waiting for a Virgo reading. I think that's everything. Oh, look what just jumped out on me. The Sun card. How beautiful. All right, so it looks like it will be a very positive reading today. Let's see where we're going with it. Okay, so we have the Hierophant coming out. So the Hierophant represents, that's the High Priest. So the way to see it is with the High Priestess, to me, it's the spiritual side of religion. It's the way that you follow religion, how you create your own feelings and thinking. To me, this is more tradition, traditional religion, churches, that type of thing. So that's where I see them as being very different. The Hierophant, when it comes out, is very often talking, for me, talks about tradition. So, for example, if you've been doing something a certain way because you've been taught to do it that way, or you do it that way because you believe that's the right way to do it, but you've never really known anything different, then that could be a tradition. It could be something your family's always done. It could be something that's always done a certain way, or it could be a belief that you're doing things in a certain way that's correct. So whatever it is, when it comes out, for me, it makes me feel that there is something that perhaps you need to pay attention to. Sometimes it can be to do with like marriage, christenings, religious ceremonies, that type of thing. We do have the Six of Swords. So no, I feel like you're moving away from something that may be quite traditional to you. So maybe you've seen a way of doing things very differently to what you've been taught. It's really funny because I do this often when people say to me, oh, but you can't do that. And I think, well, if you go into other religions, cultures, and things like that, they've done those things for a really long time. Who's to say they're wrong and we're right? Say for eating food, eating meat, if you're a meat eater. If you're not a meat eater, then maybe we can use another example. But for example, in other countries, they make meats that are very different to what we eat, and we can be quite turned off by that. But for other people, that might be the meat they've always eaten. Um, Look, I remember doing a lot of work on this in TAFE and, in uni, about challenging the way you do or see things, because we can be quite convinced that it's the right way to do it, especially if we've been raised by somebody who was very judgmental, for example. So if a judgmental person says to you that, other cultures shouldn't be allowed into your country because they don't speak English, then you may grow up thinking that that is the case, where we know it isn't. But if you are taught something from your parents, your schools, or from other institutions that have a really strong bearing on who you are, you may believe that. That's it. And then something can happen to you later in life where all of a sudden what you believed may not necessarily be true. Things that we've been taught, like you can only love one person or be in love with one person at a time, which I think has been proven so many times for me that that is not the case. So, whatever it is for you, there is a feeling here that you have learned something that you are leaving behind because you believed it so strongly, and now you're believing something very, very differently. I feel like here, see, we've got this victim mentality here, and you've got the victory card. I don't need to see anymore. I feel like what's happening here is you have learned something which has freed you from some sort of way of thinking or way of doing things that's allowing you to expand and grow. So it may be that you grew up in a very, I did, extremely racist household, where your family believed, skin color, age difference, all of those things are not rules to be broken, and they are the rules to be broken. Um, if you grow up thinking that, trying to think of an example, that you can't get divorced because you've been married in a church and therefore that is sinful, but yet you put up with an abusive relationship because your sort of thinking is so strong on those grounds that you're not willing to compromise a value. How long does it have to go? I mean, we lost an auntie through domestic violence. How far does it have to go before you can turn around and say, well, all right, then I'll walk away from this relationship, rather than giving it, more and more and more. So whatever this is for you, there appears to be something, perhaps today, perhaps tomorrow, but certainly when I do the readings within the next, few hours to few weeks, that's going to really challenge your ideals or your views on something. And it may be something that is life changing, because I see you getting out of this victim mentality. So maybe your victim mentality, and we all slip into these, is, my big one, which I'll share with you. I could never understand how people were mean or nasty. I just thought people were genuinely good. And when people were nasty to me, this is obviously when I was younger, when people were nasty to me, I did not understand it at all. I did not understand it. I used to think that all people were good. Other people might think all people are not good, not trustworthy, you can't trust anyone. You may have that sort of attitude about gender, about sexuality, sexual identification, criminal activity, whatever it is, there is something here that you're shedding, and you're not sort of buying into it anymore. And what I feel like is, especially say for a relationship one, where you're not moving away from a relationship because somehow you believe that it's the right thing to do, or your belief is to hang on to that, then that can put you in a victim mentality. And don't forget, victim mentality isn't all about, misery and, feeling sorry for yourself, although it can be that. You can have a victim mentality if, for example, you have a friend who you're always trying to help out, but they don't seem to help themselves. So you get upset with them because they don't seem to help themselves. That is a victim mentality. Because you're feeling sorry for yourself. So whatever it is here, you are changing it and you are moving forward, and it is good. Whatever it is going to be so good for you to release that energy, or that sort of energy of, I'm the one who's suffering here. All right, let's see where we're going. Knight of Swords coming through. Okay, with the Four of Coins. See, this is cutting away something that has become a part of who you are. May be very difficult for you to let go of too. So we have the High Priestess coming through with the High Priest. So maybe for some of you here, especially with this Two of Swords, this may be letting go of a religious belief that you have believed since you were young, where now you've become more sort of aware or awakened. You're looking back and thinking that isn't quite the way that we were taught, and maybe not doing it that way anymore is going to free me up. And maybe sometimes with things like that, we don't actually realize that it's holding us back or confining us or blocking us in some way, shape, or form. But you're definitely making a decision here to trust your intuition, All right, Seven of Swords. So you've been giving yourself a hard time here, especially with that Seven of Wands. So I feel like whatever this is, you're having some sort of rebirth from it. Absolutely beautiful reading. Some pretty heavy cards, but they're coming out in a very positive way. And I feel like perhaps that's why the sun jumped out at the beginning. Perhaps you've had that awakened moment. We all have them. Those epiphany moments when you go, really? Well, I always thought it was that way. And it can be over the smallest of things. And I love TikTok for that. You know, like opening packets a certain way, pouring milk a certain way, where you've done it that way for a really long time. And when somebody shows you something, it can be almost life changing to see it done differently. And I feel this is what's happening here. All right, so you're definitely turning your back on something with that Five of Swords. I feel like here, Six of Cups. All right. This is definitely something you have believed since you were young. You have believed it since you were young. Whatever this is here, you are definitely changing your mind. So there's some sort of tradition, way of doing things, religious practice, something you've been doing for a really long time because in your heart of hearts, you believed it was the only way. And I see you moving away from that with the Six of Swords. It's moving away from a victim mentality to some sort of victory here. So whatever this is for you, it will change the way you see your world and will open up so many other things to you because you're seeing things differently. Okay. Alrighty. I just want to give you a little bit more insight because it was pretty straightforward reading, but quite enlightening. All right, let's just take a few cards at random. Okay, I have the Nine of Coins. Maybe it's to do with finances. You have the Moon card coming through after that. Could be to do with a Pisces or Cancer. You've got the Two of Coins coming through again. It's allowing you to balance yourself out and allow you to manifest. All right. I feel like for some of you here, maybe your victim mentality is your belief that you can't create from something you want. Maybe you've tried, maybe you've... Oh, I need to tell you a story here because I feel like it will reflect this. When I was a kid, every time I thought about something or got something really specific in mind, I would become sort of preoccupied with it. And because of that, I felt that I manifested things very easily. So, you know, I'd be walking down the street and I'd have in my mind that there was a Dalmatian coming towards me, and I walk around the corner and somebody would walk towards me with the Dalmatian. Or I would go and pick an outfit, and I've always been a little bit sort of left of centre. I'd go and pick an outfit out, and before I knew it, everybody would be wearing that particular outfit. And I used to think that perhaps that was, you know, my psychic energy picking up on things. But what if it was me manifesting because I was young, my mind was clear, I wasn't carrying around all the burdens that you do when you become an adult, and maybe somehow or another I was manifesting something. So I feel like when you're not encumbered by your doubts and your fears, you have a much better chance of creation. But if you're trying to manifest something and you're constantly doubting your ability, or you're constantly doubting that that can happen for you, and you probably put it out to the universe, which I always say in its way is manifestation. I'll never meet somebody who's right for me. I always meet the really poor people. I always seem to meet people who have this defect. If that is the case, then that is what you're manifesting. It's what you're bringing forth. It's what you're doing, that you doubt your ability to create something beautiful for yourself. And you don't necessarily have to go to a lot of trouble to manifest. We all like to do, you know, certain things like, you know, writing things down. I love post-it notes, keep me positive. I like to clear my blockages. But for everyone, that might be different. But the one thing that we seem to have in common is the fact that we can doubt who we are and our ability to create what we want. So what I want to say here, this is what it makes me feel. So for some of you, this is about your finances, it's about your money, it's about your creative energies and what you can create for yourself. You've got the Moon card here. So for me, this makes me feel that perhaps you're not realizing how you're blocking yourself. I do have the Two of Pentacles, which shows you being brought back into balance, and I have the Magician here. So this says to me you have everything you need to create what you want, but you have to believe in yourself. And with the Moon card here, I would say there's something in your shadow side or something in your belief that is stopping you from creating what it is that you want. So if nothing else comes across in this reading, I always say be the observer, be conscious of what you're doing, be conscious of what you say. And when you say something, think about, is that negative or not? Because I've had people say to me, oh, I'm only being realistic. Well, you're not, you're being negative. So if you want to be realistic, err on the side of something good. Don't err on the side of negativity. All right, let's read a wisdom of the Oracle card for you. What would the additional message be for this reading? All right, a change is in the wind. There we go. Let's have a look at that. It's card number 12, which is a great number. Why is that? It's the date of my birthday, and I've pretty much gone to it too, which is really good. So a sense that unseen change has been initiated. Preparation for a storm, awareness that your plans are not on firm ground, feeling a shift, uncertainty about which direction the winds will blow. It's human nature to yearn for certainty and resist change. You want the world to remain consistent like a zebra's stripes, yet nothing in human experience is black and white, nor will anything remain static. The one thing guaranteed is change. Now is the time of transformation as outer conditions are temporarily moving out of sync with your desires and expectations. Stay the course and remember that even storms serve to clear the air, scatter seeds and nourish the soil for better things ahead. Life is about to get interesting. Anticipate it with curiosity as you wonder what is coming in on the shifting winds. The unknown is where the magic lies. That's what I always say. When you've got a great desire for something and you're thinking about it all the time, you're not allowing the universe to bring you in something different. So if you make it so strong that that is the only way that you can have it, then it's so much harder for the universe to provide. So the best thing to do is live in the moment, know that you have something that you want, and just allow the universe to bring it in. All right, I'll leave you with that. Thank you.